You're listening to Radio Realty. I'm Christopher Story, your host for Great Adventures in Real Estate. Joining me now, Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman. Loren, you wrote what I consider to be the defining piece on Proposition 1. So my first question to you, sir, would be, can you love salmon, love and want to protect their salmon habitat, and still vote no on Proposition 1?
Well, I certainly hope so, because that's what I'm going to do. I've, for those listeners who don't know, which may be many, I have fished for salmon just up the inlet from where you are now in Homer, in Ninilchik, for the past 60 seasons. That means I have to be more than 60 years old. I love salmon. I want to protect them. And I want my children and grandchildren to have the same opportunity I've had to enjoy them. And we can do that and vote no on this ballot measure. Quite frankly, I think it's misnamed and is, because of that, is confusing a lot of people.
Well, I was just going to say that. In fact, your piece opens with the fact that you said many people have asked you about ballot measure 1, and their typical question is, I'm confused. Can you explain it to me what it does? I'm telling you, Loren, I've read it myself a dozen times. I think it raises more questions every time I read it. In fact, Representative Paul Seaton, says he wishes this had gone through the legislature. That is one of your points. Let's start with your points, though, that you say, first off, it's unnecessary. Why?
Yeah, as an engineer, that's the other side of me. We always have to ask, what's the problem we're trying to solve? And so then when I ask, is it necessary? We say, okay, what's the problem? And then the natural follow-up is if you identify a problem and some solutions, then you need to ask, does your solution create other problems, or does it impact other things? Are there unintended consequences? And in this case, I believe, first of all, the answer is it's not necessary, and it does create unintended consequences. And the legislature really is a far better venue for addressing this, because you can take public testimony, you can do this in a very public forum, you can discuss it, and even the legislature doesn't produce perfect legislation. I know, I served in the legislature for 14 years. We tried hard to do that, and you still don't quite get to perfection, but you do a lot better than when somebody sits down and creates something like this pretty much outside of the public domain.
I want to move to your point number 2. By the way, we're talking with Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman, engineer, fisherman, all-around great Alaskan, why he is a no on ballot measure 1. And your second point is that it's deceptive. And I think that you don't mean that in a, I don't think that you've got any, I don't think you are claiming that it was written in malice or anything like that, but I think the marketing of this, and that's all you can call it, is marketing of this ballot measure, truthfully, has used art and I think emotion to save salmon. I felt all along that triggers some skepticism in my mind, and I guess that's what you mean by it's deceptive.
Right. I didn't mean for that to be a pejorative term, and I even said in the article, I said, I don't even like to say that, because I don't like to say that about people. Mm-hmm. But in this case, it is so confusing to where just the title, Save Our Salmon. Of course, everybody wants to do that. And if we have diminished runs like we did this year in the Upper Quick Inlet, you want to find out why, and the natural tendency is to blame somebody, something for it. And so, just the title itself, I think, is deceptive. The truth is that we already have laws to protect habitat. Now, if they're not good enough, if somehow something is happening, even and it's not violating existing law, then we need to address that, and we need to address that in the proper forum. But to place 8 pages of very small font legislation in front of the voter and expect them to understand it, it is just it's just not fair. I've practiced in engineering, and I've been a legislator for all these years, and it even takes me a long time to work through it just to read it. And if I really were to understand what it says, just starting from scratch, it would probably take me several hours of reading, because anytime you have a section that says this section is repealed and reenacted to read, you know what you have to do? You have to go back to what it was before and then compare the two sections. And, that's not being done right here in a way that anybody can really understand. So, that's another reason I wrote the article. I said, we've got to make this as clear as we can.
And then your third point was, and so the points again are, it's unnecessary, and you have some great explanation there. It's deceptive. You explain you're loathsome to say it, but find that it has to be just by nature of the title alone. It can be deceiving. And then thirdly, that it's harmful. And just if you could quickly summarize where you find those unintended consequences that could harm rather than help.
Well, yeah, I think the areas where it could harm, and probably will, in the whole area of permitting, anytime we add more burden to permitting, and I'm involved in this business, almost on a daily basis, it's already burdensome, it's already costly. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have permitting. I'm just saying that there probably are ways we can streamline it. And so it will add cost. The state of Alaska will have to add staff just to be able to do this additional work. And they are, the various departments are proposing that it would be several $1 million a year of additional staff. And I think it's fair to say, even though the sponsors of this measure will deny it, say, no, that's not what we mean. But the reality is it will cause permit delay, probably, I shouldn't say probably, almost assuredly more litigation, and it could even impact everyday activities like access to hunting and fishing grounds, and boat ramps and permits for wastewater treatment plants. I'm quite confident it will do that, because every stream will be considered an anadromous stream, and you can't have mixing zones in spawning areas. And if you don't know where the spawning areas are, then there go your mixing zones and your permits. And if that happens, you could be subject to, like the city of Palmer right now, spending $12 million of just to expand their treatment plant. For what? For the risk that maybe a salmon spends a few seconds migrating up the river and going past their outfall with no demonstrated harm at all. But they're spending the money right now to have to do it. You apply that hundreds of times across Alaska, and I think it's fair to say it could be harmful.
Loren Leman, thank you so much, sir, for writing the piece and also spending a few minutes to explain it here on the program. I appreciate you very much.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Yeah, just there you have it. There's nothing to add. You're listening to Radio Realty. I'm Chris Story, back with more in just a minute.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung, and may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the lights surrounding you. May you always be courageous. Stand upright and be strong, and may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young.